Llevamos 60 años fabricando hilos sostenibles. Poner nuestra etiqueta en la prenda final es sinónimo y garantía de calidad, sostenibilidad y trazabilidad.
Book a demo and find out how XGenAI can drive industry-leading lifetime value and incremental revenue lift within weeks.
Hola de nuevo, es un placer dar la bienvenida a Barcelona Fashion Summit por primera vez a Pronovias Group, una empresa que es líder en su segmento, el de la moda nupcial. Os presento aquí a mi lado a Amandine Ohayon, es consejera delegada de Pronovias Group desde 2018, tiene un MBA en Dirección de Empresas de Lujo por ESSEC Business School y comenzó su carrera en LVMH. En 1999 se incorporó al grupo L'Oréal, donde trabajó durante más de una década antes de incorporarse a Pronovias Group. Thank you very much, Amandine. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy you switched to English. It's a real pleasure to be here today. It's my first time, so I don't know if we've got anybody who is his first time as well. It's a real honor, so thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. It's great to have a company like Pronovias Group for the first time. So since it's the first time we have a bridal wear company here, the first question is, are the drivers for bridal the same as for the general industry?
So of course, like all of you, our job is to make a woman look and feel beautiful. But bridal is slightly different, and coming from the beauty industry as well, I found it like really different. It's different because we all talk about e-commerce, we all talk about, loyalty building, and actually bridal, it's a brick and mortar business. For the simple reason that the experience of finding your bridal dress with your family, that moment of joy that you're creating, is quite unique. Bridal is also very important because the post-sale is critical. A lot of us, we buy a fashion item and we wear it and that's great. Bridal, you buy a dress, but it's made to measure. So the post-sale, the experience, the post-fitting is key. The third thing, we all talk about predicting consumer behavior. The bride is a highly emotional consumer, and I don't think at the moment any artificial intelligence has been able to predict her behavior. So of course, what we need to do is we need to listen to her a lot. She's highly demanding. This is the most important dress of her life. We cannot get it wrong. It cannot arrive late. It cannot be not perfect. And I think this demand for high quality, prediction of delivery is very, very important.
It was also one of the sectors worst impacted by the COVID pandemic, unfortunately. What are the perspectives for the bridal wear sector going forward?
For us, it was, the pandemic has been violent. Overnight, your market is minus 80%. And I've been in the bridal business for like a year and a half, and that happens, and I can tell you it's very scary. The other thing that is for you to understand, a bride will choose a dress and will pay a small amount as a deposit, and will pay the rest of the dress when she comes back. So we had all that beautiful dresses in our stores, and suddenly no weddings for 2 years. So you can imagine how tricky cash flow management could be. But this in mind, there was always a very important point for the bridal industry. It's a resilient business. You've got years where there are a little bit more weddings, years where there are a little bit less weddings, but it's a very, very stable, resilient business. So of course the business was under massive pressure, and the whole idea was like, would it be resilient? I was going to board meetings and shareholders were telling me, you know what? Everyone is getting married on Zoom. No one will buy dresses anymore. No one will get married ever again with big parties or anything like that. So yeah, you ask yourself this question. Now, to answer to your point, we didn't have that many cancellation. You have to imagine out of those 2 years, we only had 3% cancellation. So no matter what, brides want to get married. And today, what we're seeing is an amazing pent-up demand. The other thing that everyone is predicting with the pandemic, you know, people will not spend so much money on a dress. I think we all been wearing, you know, our legging wears for 2 years, doing Zoom calls, and we're not like, why on earth would you spend so much money on a dress that you're going to wear once? And here, what we're seeing, since the fact that the restriction has been lifted, if anything, she wants to spend more money on a dress. We're seeing an average selling price 5-10% higher before, of course, the start of inflation. So yes, the wedding ceremony is slightly different, but the one thing that is very interesting, she's spending more on the dress. So the outlook is looking positive. So now, of course, everyone is asking you, great, so it's going to be a big V-shaped recovery. And what is very interesting is brides want to get married in a certain venue. So of course, the issue is not really like the dress. The issue is finding the venue. And now we have brides waiting for 2 years, 3 years to be able to book the venue. So I think the next 3 years, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but are looking very, very promising.
And how do you manage the relationship with these brides that, you know, you build that relationship for years to sell them one dress, but then now you've sold them the dress and they are not still getting married. So how do you manage this relationship with clients?
So it's true that, you know, like we all are obsessed, and, you know, I was working in the beauty industry, I was obsessed with building customer loyalty. I want her to buy my product frequently, come back to my store, really like build that relationship, increase lifetime value. And in bridal, it's very different. Advocacy is king. So, you know, Net Promoter Score is the #1 KPI. Are we likely to recommend the experience of Pronovias? And that means that your marketing is very different, is how the brides become the ambassadors, because of course the likelihood of she's getting a lot of friends that will eventually get married is very, very high. So our job is really to create those amazing memorable moments, engage entourage, and that's really where customer value comes from.
You mentioned there's going to be a V-shape, but in what way will these weddings be different from the ones before the pandemic?
So, of course, there are some key differences. The first thing, a bride used to plan a wedding a lot in advance, and I think all of us, we realize that even if we're trying to plan things, they don't always pan out the way we want. So instead of like looking for a dress 12 months ahead of the wedding, now we're looking at 6 months. I mean, those are not T-shirts. They are made by hand. They are customized to your size. And of course, I'm having, you know, a very interesting challenge now on supply chain. Not only, of course, we need to have reliable delivery, but, you know, we need to reduce time to market in bridal. So how do we do that without compromising the quality? So planning less in advance, therefore, you know, like wanting to have a dress faster. But of course, still with made to measure, the fitting, everything. Second, I think what has been very interesting is the importance of sustainability. And everyone here can say, okay, you're very nice, but you are the most not, you know, product circularity is not part of bridal because we've got one dress and you're not going to wear it ever again. So that's really like the total opposite. So we've been working for 2 years on a project which is called Second Life, which is how we can help you to transform your dress after the wedding into a dress that you can wear for a special occasion. And sustainability is becoming very, very important. I think the fashion industry has done so much, and I love, you know, listening to Marcella that was talking about education. But you have to realize that in bridal, we don't use cotton. We don't use, you know, like those, you know, fabrics that are now produced in a very sustainable way. So when I arrive, I ask, okay, do we have sustainable lace? Do we have Mikado is a very, very famous fabric in bridal that is only used in bridal. So the whole thing was, okay, well, we need to start from zero, educating the mills, the customers, and also like our clients, because it's a very traditional business So when we talk about eco-material, a lot of people think that we're going to do hippie dresses. So there is a part of education that is very, very important, but it's a very interesting journey to be on, and it's going to be key for the years to come because the customers want more sustainable, want to understand what is behind the dress.
Before talking further about sustainability, you mentioned reducing time to market. Trends are changing in the bridal wear industry. Brides are getting dressed in jumpsuits and all sorts of dresses. Does this mean that maybe, general fashion players have a bigger room into bridal wear?
So a lot of fast fashion players have tried to enter into bridal wear, and I think it's again, which market are you playing? Because we are playing in a luxury made to measure, and that requires a lot of technique, a lot of know-how. Just to have an idea, we can transform a dress from a size 36 to a size 42. It's a lot of work. Everything is done by hand. So, of course, at a certain level of prices, it's a different product. And I think there is a market for all products, but I think the importance of the post-sale and the made-to-measure is something that you need to have unique expertise, and that's why a lot of people have tried, and unfortunately after 2 or 3 years decided that they couldn't offer that service.
You've raised your position and your brand position in recent years. This is a move that many fashion companies probably present here are trying to make now. What advice would you give to them?
The main thing today with all the tools that we have from a digital standpoint, social media, website traffic, we've got amazing consumer insight, and my philosophy has always been about what we want to do as a company is what we can do for the consumer and what we can do for end consumer and our clients. So it sounds very basic, but I think listening to the bride, if the bride wants to get married in jumpsuit, then let's give her the most stunning, beautiful jumpsuit ever. And it doesn't matter if we haven't done jumpsuit in the past, we need to adapt. The other thing as well, and I think a lot of you also manage portfolio of brands, portfolio management is even more strategic because you can't be everything to everyone. And trying to play on different market segments, trying to please people in different countries is very difficult. So it's agreeing, what should be the role of each brand. Of course, Pronovias is a global brand, but we've got in our portfolio very strong local leaders. And I think being able to strategize your portfolio of brand is another very important part of, growth in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. And to which extent should brand making or marketing be important in the decision-making process of a company?
It's critical because that's where you get the insight, but also 100% of the brides coming to stores would have done a research online. So it's educating people in the store because sometimes the bride is more knowledgeable about what is out there than our clients or our stylist. So this part is key. The bride is a digital animal. Gone are the days where you were looking in a magazine, tearing up a picture and say, I want that dress. So that's very, for us, it's amazing because we've done a lot of work on digital transformation, on innovation, and due to our scale, we can have a lot of leads at different price points in different regions, drive appointment, drive traffic to the stores, and really enjoy doing that.
And with all those insights you have, how will Gen Z and Alpha generations will get married in the future?
So the insight that we have is, and what we're seeing, there is I think everyone is craving for celebration and happiness. I think all of us, we've experienced what it is not to be able to have those gatherings. And if anything, it marks profoundly people. I've got 2 teenage daughters, and they couldn't go to school, and they couldn't see their friends. And for them, it's something that was very, very, very hard. And I think this sense of celebration and party will definitely be something that, for the Gen Z, will be key. So of course we need to make sure we're there along the way. The other thing that has been very interesting is the change of platform. I'm sure you're all experiencing it, like the world from Facebook to TikTok. So TikTok is becoming a very important part of our digital strategy. Still trying to understand it personally, but I've got like very talented team that are doing much better than me. But it's also like seeing that evolution. The third point as well is there will be definitely like a question around e-commerce. And here it's like some markets are more ready than others. So how do we recreate an experience on e-commerce? And maybe it's not going to be for the ceremony dress, but for the civil wedding or for the party dress. But again, without compromising on our ethos and our value to offer that perfect fit.
You were saying bridal wear is resilient. Gen Z is going to get married in a huge white dress. But then we see the statistical trends that weddings are going down here in Europe. Which is the market we need to look for?
I think there are, when weddings are going down, if you look at it over a 10-year period, it's very flat. You've got like that amazing resilience. And you've got always some headwinds and tailwinds. Yes, you've got maybe people that are getting married a little bit later, but then you've got second weddings. You've got same-sex weddings. So I think, like when you look at it overall at a holistic point of view, it's a very resilient market. The other thing that is very interesting for us, our business has been built in Europe. And of course, the biggest market in the world are the US, 2.2 million weddings, so that's a lot of dresses. And China as well, where we're seeing an appetite for our products. So I feel that we're still like got so much white space and growth to experiment. But that means, of course, having relevant brands, having local team from a sales and marketing perspective that can understand the clients, understand the bride. And that's a transformation that we've been making, like expanding our to the US, expanding to China. And during the pandemic, we signed a 10-year deal with Vera Wang, which is the icon when it comes to bridal. And I think she can be an amazing weapon for US and China expansion.
Mm-hmm. Particularly this kind of collaborations and alliances have been increasing a lot in all the sector. What should a company look for when finding these kind of partnerships?
But it's more than a partnership, it's a real marriage. So it's firstly understanding the value proposition and making sure that we're aligned. And the way we're selecting our partnership, it has to be very complementary to what we have in-house, because you don't want to create your own competition. So for us, partnering with Vera Wang was great because she's the most famous bridal designer in the world. Whether you're asking someone in Shanghai, someone in Paris or in London, or even in Mexico. She's of course very well known in the US, which is a market where we've got low brand awareness. She only catered to a very few VIPs, whereas us, we've got an accessible luxury proposition. So, we were actually a perfect match because we can help her to target a wider range of consumers because we've got the know-how how to make beautiful dresses at a price that is more accessible luxury. And she's got the image and the design talent to help us to also bring something different to our portfolio. So I think complementarity from a geographic standpoint, from a a brand equity standpoint, whilst alignment on values.
Mm-hmm. You have that scale. Is size today more important than before to compete in the fashion industry?
Contrary to the fashion business where you've got big powerful company, the bridal business is very atomized. You've got a lot of very talented company that can be leader in one market, but it's quite hard to have a company that has got strong position in several countries. And of course, with the pandemic, and for the reason that I was explaining, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of small brands disappearing. So those small, atomized. So yes, the bridal industry, unfortunately, size matters, and that's what we experienced from the pandemic. So for us, it's of course given our size, it's been advantage, but I know that it's a very like we always have to be on our guard, because some brands are always coming, new competition, and our job is to continue to constantly reinvent ourselves and innovate as industry leaders.
And will there be further opportunities for consolidation in the sector?
We are always open. I think what we want to do is this year we really want to focus on accelerating the recovery. We're seeing some really strong, positive signs in terms of traffic, in terms of average selling price, in terms of pent-up demand, the venue being booked. So I think what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are servicing the best those brides, because we have to cope with that pent-up demand whilst managing those supply chain challenges that are affecting everyone. But it's I'm very optimistic.
You've talking about sustainability now. You've launched the Second Life project to turn all bridal dresses into formal or party dresses. How does sustainability affect the bridal sector beyond material use?
There is, of course, it's how to do it well, because we had that debate earlier. Sustainability could mean anything to anyone. So, firstly, is understanding it's a journey, and it's making that very clear. We are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And it's about, okay, what are at least the thing that we want to do well? So it's building this roadmap, having this clear horizon at 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And then starting small. What are the small things that we can do? Starting with your own office, starting with your packaging, and then extending to the mills and your suppliers, extending to your stores, and step by step building this roadmap. We have to be ambitious, but also I think we have to be realistic, because what matters at the end is if you say you're doing something, you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the non-compromise approach that we have to have. So yes, maybe it's not huge in comparison to the fashion industry, what Bridal is doing, but I think we're really trying. We're accelerating, and step by step we'll get there.
So do you think the client tolerates more to say, I make mistakes, than to say nothing at all?
It's not that you've made mistake, it's just that probably the awareness was not there. The education is key, but also it's a very delicate experience, because you don't want to compromise on product quality. So that's the whole challenge. When you've got all the fashion company, challenging their suppliers and their sourcing team to improve, but when no one was really doing it in bridal, it's well, where do you start? How do you catch up? But thank you, because at least you guys are ahead of. We're trying to follow, and but again, our clients need to understand it as well, and I think that's sometimes how do we get that message across?
Mm-hmm. You've been managing a growing company during the pandemic. How do you do that with uncertainty? What role does analysis play in that context?
So for us, it was, as I was describing, it was very brutal, and here I think what I've learned is moving fast. You can't, when the shock is what we've experienced, fast decision making is key. Interaction with your team and retaining your key talents is key. And actually also what has been very interesting is when the business is under so much pressure, when you're in the eyes of the storm, it also allows you to identify probably your weakest point faster, thing that maybe you didn't realize at the time. And that has helped us to really transform much faster the company. So I think during those moments of crisis, moving fast, using the opportunity to transform the company whilst keeping your team, the motivation of your people very, very close. I think those are the three lessons that I will take away with me.
We have time for just one final question. You're one of the several women CEO we have today, we are thrilled about that. What importance does it have for the fashion industry?
None. I think, I don't consider myself any different from, like a male CEO. I think at the end of the day, what we need to do is do our very best in the way we are like driving our team, offering a unique value proposition. And yes, maybe the advantage was when I started, I was able to try on 150 bridal dresses. I'm not sure a guy would have done that, maybe. But I like for me, like there is no difference today. And I really encourage, of course, sometimes women think that, it's going to be more difficult, but I think at the end of the day, it's a question of mindset.
Great. Well, with that, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Llevamos 60 años fabricando hilos sostenibles. Poner nuestra etiqueta en la prenda final es sinónimo y garantía de calidad, sostenibilidad y trazabilidad.
Book a demo and find out how ActionAI can drive industry-leading lifetime value and incremental revenue lift within weeks.